Hey guys, welcome to our training videos. Thanks for taking the time to watch these. I am Brian, the director here at Dunes Bible Camp.
I'm Amy, I'm the program director here.
I'm Sophie, I'm our admin assistant.
I'm Joel, I'm the assistant director.
We're your leadership team, and we want to thank you guys for giving your time to serve with us at camp this summer. We really couldn't do this without you.
Treat yourself, other campers, and staff with respect.
No pranks. We don't want to hurt people's feelings.
Keep your cabin and facilities in good shape and clean up after yourself.
No fireworks, weapons, tobacco, vapes, any other illegal or recreational drugs, or any inappropriate stuff.
No electronics. That includes cell phones, gaming devices, tablets, smartwatches, cameras, etc.
Don't go to the beach without a staff person, and no swimming in the ocean.
Obey the lifeguards at the pool. They are there to keep you safe. No horseplay or running on the deck.
No PDA. Show love to your friends through high fives and handshakes. Nothing more, please.
Stay within the camp boundaries. To the west, the dune grass is our boundary going out there. So unless they're with the staff person, we don't want people going past the grass. And then on the north side, we don't want people going behind the gym, past the gym, or there's a fence behind the playground, so we don't go past that area. And then on the south of the camp, there's a paved road that goes on the side of the chapel, and we don't go past that paved roads over towards any of the staff houses. And then on the east, we don't go back behind the dining hall or the pool. So that's our east boundary. And then we don't want any of the campers to go in any unused buildings or the staff houses. And we want to make sure that guys and girls never go into the opposite gender areas, the other cabins.
Dress appropriately. For example, swimmers should only be worn during water-related activities. No clothing with obscene language or imagery or political slogans. No crop tops. And please only wear one-piece or modest two-piece swimsuits.
Follow lights out time.
Staff are expected to follow the camp rules. Use a high standard when making decisions. Campers are going to follow your lead and return home and share what they remember about camp. We want them to remember what they learned about Jesus rather than the inappropriate thing their counselor did. Be on time to every scheduled meeting, activity, or duty. It is your responsibility to know where you're supposed to be and when. Be with your campers at all times. If they are with another staff person, at least know where they are. Please do not talk when leadership staff is talking. All right, regarding going to the beach, staff under 18 are not supposed to go to the beach alone. And if you're taking your campers out to the beach, make sure someone on leadership staff at least knows where you're going so they know that your cabin is going out to the beach. And also be aware that it is a driving beach, so there are cars going up and down, and make sure your campers are keeping an eye out for vehicles.
Phones and electronics. Camp is a really special time where our campers get to be freed from their normal distractions and the temptations that come from their phones, and just really enjoy that face-to-face time with each other and with God. And we really want to join our campers in this as much as possible, which means that even if you've been allowed to have your phone for safety purposes or communication purposes, please don't allow it to be a distraction. In fact, campers shouldn't even know that you have one with you.
Dating. Camp is a great place to meet great people. However, we understand that dating at camp can potentially be a distraction and even destructive to the unity of our staff team. So we ask that staff members refrain from starting relationships until after camp. And please, no PDA.
Summer staff is asked not to consume alcohol during their time working at camp, even if they're over 21. Staff who are wishing to purchase food or drinks from the snack shack or the coffee bar can either open an account just like the campers or pay with cash or card, but please don't ask to open a tab or have any IOUs. That just becomes really confusing for the person running the snack shack. Staff under 18 may not stay overnight in between camps on site unless approved by a parent or a guardian. Please be considerate of other staff when it comes to noise in the early morning or late night hours, as this is a very small opportunity staff will have to catch up on sleep. At the end of every week, we will announce where boys are staying and where girls are staying in between camps. Please stay out of the opposite gender cabin area, including common rooms such as the Chapelon common room or the Anderson area. And anytime staff are hanging out together in a co-ed situation, there should be 3 or more people. Don't just help yourself to any food from the camp fridge. Food that's meant to be eaten as leftovers will be announced and clearly marked. Movies, video games, and music that's enjoyed together on site must be camp appropriate. Please get approval for any movies that you're going to watch, and always ask a leadership staff member if you're not sure. The following policies are extremely important policies that are in place to protect our campers from abuse and also to protect you from any accusations of abuse. These policies are so important that any failure to abide by them could result in the immediate dismissal of a staff member. We can follow all of the rules below, but if we don't believe that abuse is a real risk and we don't take these rules seriously, abuse could still happen right under our nose. Number 1, you should never be alone with a camper. One-on-ones need to happen in a well-lit public place where you could easily be seen by anyone. Number 2, keep physical affection and any physical touch appropriate. This means that you shouldn't touch a camper in any private or sensitive area, and you shouldn't allow a camper to touch you in any private or sensitive area. Campers also shouldn't sit on your lap. Sometimes this is difficult, especially with kids camp, and you can just tell your campers everyone needs to sit in their own seat. Number 3, do not participate in or tolerate any inappropriate comments or jokes. Number 4, do not allow your campers to get into each other's beds, and don't allow them to get into your bunk. You should model this by staying in your own bunk only as well. Number 5, do not allow your campers to be alone together. Especially be mindful of this when it comes to changing, such as in the bathroom or in the cabin, or when it comes to the pool locker room. And one way you can give your campers some privacy while still observing them is by standing in, say, an open door in the bathroom and verbally monitoring them by checking in on them with your voice. Number 6, if you see or hear anything that gives you cause for concern, whether it's in a staff member or a camper, please let leadership staff know immediately. Here are a couple additional guidelines and reminders that will help prevent abuse from taking place at our program. You should know that staff will be monitored and observed during their time at camp, and it's your job to monitor and observe your campers. It's important to recognize that while adult-to-child abuse is a risk, child-to-child abuse, also known as peer-to-peer abuse, is a risk as well. The risk of peer-to-peer sexual abuse is higher anywhere clothes come off, such as in the bathroom, in any activities that are less supervised, such as night games or free time, and in any area that is less easily seen, such as the pool or the tunnel at the playground. Please utilize other staff, especially leadership staff, to avoid a situation where you're alone with a camper. For instance, say you're leaving for a meal and one camper refuses to leave the cabin. Rather than staying in that cabin arguing with the camper alone, you need to grab another staff member to help you in that situation. Finally, if you see something, say something. And also remember that these rules are for your own safety. Sometimes a child who has been abused in the past will accuse somebody who's never hurt them just to get it off their chest. We want to not put you in any situations that aren't above reproach.
Okay, these are some reasons for dismissal. One would be leaving your campers without permission, leaving the campground without permission, any abuse or inappropriate conduct, and breaking any laws or the camp guidelines.
Be ready to begin check-in wearing your staff shirt and your name tag. We'll also have all the counselors make welcome signs that have your cabin name and your campers' names on them so they can find you after they get all checked in. So please don't take campers out of the check-in line. We want to make sure they get through that process before they meet up with you. Make sure you're greeting the parents and guardians of your campers with firm handshakes, good eye contact. Try and think through how you would want to be greeted if you were dropping your child off at camp. And then lastly, double check with your campers that they turned in their snack shack money, their medications, their cell phones before you take them off to your cabin.
All right, a couple things about meals in the dining hall. First, one of our rules is we want to have shoes required at all times. That becomes an issue because a lot of kids try to run in here after pool time and things like that, but the health inspector requires us to have shoes on. And then remember that mealtime is a great time for you to have some casual but intentional conversation with your campers and connect with them. So we encourage counselors to sit with their cabins and get to know their campers during mealtime. It's probably the best time that you have to get to do that. And then make sure you don't leave the dining hall area until you hear announcements, because we will do a set of announcements at every meal and then announce seconds. And after that is done, then campers can leave the dining hall with your permission to go play gaga ball or whatever.
Chapel expectations. Have all of your campers use the bathroom before chapel, even if they're high schoolers. If you do have to send a camper to the bathroom, have them use the bathrooms in the dining hall, which is a public area. When we open the doors to chapel, you're going to lead your campers in and sit together as a cabin. If you have a co-counselor, you and your co-counselor are going to disperse yourself as best you can so that you can help your campers focus and correct any behavior that needs to be corrected. We don't allow food or drink in the chapel. You should be participating with your campers during free time, and you should always know where they are. Snack Shack. Never ask your camper to buy you something from the Snack Shack or to sell you something from the Snack Shack. If you bring your own money, we are happy to serve you at the Snack Shack. Campers are never allowed to hang out in the cabin during free time. If you have a camper that is especially tired, they are allowed to go and talk to the nurse, and the nurse can give them an approved place to sleep, or they can nap outside.
Lights out means lights out. This is important because the camp schedule already doesn't offer very much sleep, and we want you and your campers to be well rested for the day ahead.
For Lake Day, always know where your campers are at while we're down there. And then if you are choosing to walk back from the lake to the main camp, make sure you're staying with the group that's walking back. Don't lag behind or get up in front of everyone too far. And then we have to cross the highway in order to get to the beach. So make sure you're watching out for cars and making sure all those campers are getting across the road safely.
All right, so regarding checkout and cleaning your cabin on the last day of camp, we want you to utilize the time provided to thoroughly clean your cabin areas and make sure your campers are involved in this process. And we want to get the cabins cleaned before breakfast. Campers must be fully checked out before being released to their parents. If a camper must leave early during the week, you want to make sure that you have them checked out through the office with a year-round Dune staff. To make sure we go through the proper channels. And then lastly, any extra help cleaning after camp is greatly appreciated because we have a lot to flip and a small team to do it. So anyone that can stay afterwards and help us, that is a huge blessing for us.
We're going to be talking about the attitude and practices of a good staff member. Camp is for the campers. You set the tone in your cabin. So if you're excited about camp, they will be excited about camp. If you're not excited about camp, they won't be excited for camp. So be excited for camp. It's camp. Activities are for the campers. Don't let competition ruin a camper's time here, but we want you to participate and help your campers have fun. Camp is for the campers should be your mindset for all decisions. Socializing with other staff should be set aside for after camp. And your attitude, whether it's meals or your least favorite game or your favorite game, make sure you are bringing a happy heart so that your campers can enjoy their week. Campers are signing up for Bible camp. They are expecting you to ask questions about their walk with Jesus and to challenge them. Don't be afraid to do that. Find opportunities to ask them questions and to enter conversations with them about Jesus. This is the reason that they're here, and this is the reason that we have camp. Campers are really smart and they know when you are not being genuine. Always share yourself with the campers, but remember to keep it age appropriate. Camp is a short time away from distractions, preconceived identities, responsibilities, and it is part of your job to make sure that they enjoy this week. Staff should be encouraging of campers, never discouraging. Leadership is here to support you, but as the counselor, you will be the one who is able to see and guide them the best. You are the first line of defense. We have rules at camp, and we want to have consistency across that board for all of the campers. Even if you have different personal convictions than their rules, we ask that while you are at Dunes, you uphold them and respect them. Leadership staff is here to help you. If you are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, burnt out, irritated, work with our head counselors and they would be happy to help you. Always check with your head counselor first, then the director if you feel like you need help.
Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about camper discipline. First, I would say make sure to read this section in your manual because I'm not going to cover everything here, but I'm just going to give you a few tips. The first one I would say that's mentioned in your manual is just being around your campers can often diffuse situations. It's normally when the staff are not around the campers that things escalate or kids get into trouble and stuff. So just being present and with your campers solves most problems. And then a really common one, especially for the younger camps, but at all the camps, is just maintaining a quiet environment during rotations and teaching times. So we don't want 50 staff going shh during a chapel message. So if you just tap kids on the shoulder and kind of do this 9 times out of 10, that works and helps keep the environment quiet. And just sitting amongst our campers and being around them normally helps prevent those things. And then lastly, I would just say with the heavier discipline things, first, make sure you're quick to get help. Us on leadership staff are here to help you. And so we don't want you dealing with heavy discipline situations on your own. So that's what we're here for, is to help and support you guys. But also I would say some of our strongest connection with campers over the years has actually been through some of the disciplinary process. So just remember, even when you're getting frustrated and stuff, to love that camper. A lot of times they're not being disciplined at home, and loving them through that process a lot of times helps us build a relationship with them that helps them for years to come as they're coming to camp and stuff. And I've seen that many times. So just make sure you love them through the process of whatever is going on. Typically, we try to do like a 3 strikes and you're out thing at camp. We don't want to just send campers home right away, but there are things that warrant a camper being sent home right away. But in general, we'll try to give them a warning, say, hey, if you do that again, we're going to call your parent. And normally that kind of puts the fear of God in them. But then if we do have to call the parent, then that's kind of normally a final warning, like we've already talked to the parent, and if this happens again, we're going to have to send you home. So that's generally how we like to do it.
In the morning and at chapel, you will have devotion time and also some cabin discussion times where you'll have the opportunity for deeper conversations with your campers. It's helpful to take your own notes during chapel so that you will have thoughts of your own to share. It's a good idea to set expectations for your cabin before the first discussion time. These might be things like, while one person is talking, everyone else is listening, or I'd love to hear from each of you. It's quite likely that a camper will ask a question that you don't know the answer to. That's okay. It's good to be honest with the camper that you don't know everything, and tell them that you will do some research of your own and get back to them. If your campers bring up sensitive or theological issues, just be quick to seek additional resources from your head counselor and leadership staff. We are a parachurch ministry, and we want you to be mindful of how you're representing Dunes Bible Camp to your campers. Remember to keep the main thing, which is the gospel, as much as possible.
Individual time with a camper can be an important opportunity for them to share about their lives and for you to listen. You don't always need to find the answer. Sometimes all they need is for someone to listen and acknowledge them. Be sure your time with them is in the open, not ever alone in a cabin. Campers are going to open up to you and talk to you about their struggles at life. If they are talking about their parents, we don't want you to join them in bashing them or talking bad about their parents. Our goal is to build relationships, not to cause more divides between them.
If a camper shares with you that they are struggling with suicidal thoughts or are involved in any dangerous or harmful behavior, such as an eating disorder, please share that information with leadership staff as soon as possible so that we can determine if there are any other steps that need to be taken for that camper's safety. Before accepting a friend request from a camper after camp, just remember that you will always be an example of what Christ-like living looks like to that camper. Ask yourself, do I really want this camper to see what I post every day? Get parental consent before continuing to build a relationship with an underage camper after camp. Check-in and check-out times are a great time to build these positive relationships with the parents.
Camp nurse and medication. All medication has to be turned into the nurse, and no medication can be kept in the cabin unless they have been approved by the nurse. Please help your nurse out and bring your campers to the nurse to get their medication at the right times.
All right, on gender or sexuality issues, you may have campers in your cabin who are struggling with their gender identity, especially in this day and age. And we are glad these campers are here, and we want to minister to all of our campers. At Dunes, we do assign our campers by their biological gender assigned at birth. And typically, if this is an issue, normally we've had a conversation with parents already before camp. But if this comes up during camp, be quick to seek out leadership staff so we can help you address that issue so you're not dealing with it on your own. And just use wisdom and discernment as that comes up, because we want to deal with all these types of issues gently and show love through the process.
Avoid talking to your campers about their families and their home after dinner. If you have multiple homesick campers, it's a good idea to separate them. Keep campers busy and excited about the next day. Talk to them about what they're excited about doing at free time or at buying from the snack shack. Try to keep it discreet and then mention it to the head counselor which cabin and bunk it is so that we can take care of it discreetly. Do not make fun of the kid or share it with the cabin mates.
All right, for an active shooter scenario, hopefully this will never happen at our camp, but we want to be prepared for anything. So there are normally 3 options to consider: run, hide, or fight. And typically it would kind of be in that order, but you want to use your discretion to decide which is best kind of in your situation or the timing of the moment. But first, run. At our camp, we have neighborhoods, woods, the beach. So if you hear a gunshot and think it is kind of an active shooter scenario, get your campers out of there if you feel you have time and space to do that. If it sounds very close by, maybe the next thing would be to hide, find a room that locks and that you could secure your campers in. That would be another choice if you feel like it's not a situation where like maybe running would be more dangerous to reveal yourself. And then lastly, I like what our manual says on this, fight. When cornered, it does not mean you are helpless. Use sharp or heavy objects on hand to fight back. So those are the 3 options we would have you guys consider in an active shooter situation. All right, in the case of other emergencies like a fire, tsunami, or an earthquake, we want everyone to report to the dining hall. And if the emergency was in the dining hall, like a fire or something in the dining hall, then we would want to have everyone out on the playground field. So once campers are gathered, we would want counselors to account to make sure all their campers are there. And then we would have leadership staff take appropriate action based on the emergency. All right, for addressing a stranger on the campground, we want to always be safe rather than sorry on this. So if you don't recognize someone as not being part of our camp that's been going on, always err on the side of caution. Just ask them, hey, how may I help you? And then direct that person to leadership staff as quick as you can. We never want to dismiss a camper to a stranger, even if we are confident it's their parent. We've had custody battle things at our camp, and so we always have to go through the proper channels of dismissing a kid. So never release a camper to a stranger that comes onto the campus without going through the office and leadership staff.
Sun exposure. Be on the lookout for kids that have sensitive skin. If they need sunscreen, head to the nurse and grab some. Dehydration. Camp is a lot of fun and campers often forget to drink water. Try to encourage your campers to drink water every meal, and you can take water breaks throughout the day. Medication. Take note of each of your campers that need medication from the nurse and ensure that your campers are getting their medication when needed.
If you have an injured camper and it's not a serious injury, try and get the camper to walk with you up to the nurse's station to get checked out. If it is a serious injury, send someone else to go and find the camp nurse and bring them to your location. For very serious injuries, go ahead and call 911 or find someone to call 911 for you.
All right, for missing camper, first I would say make sure you don't panic, because almost every time in these situations, the camper is just somewhere we're not aware of. So first we want to check with their cabin mates and see if they're somewhere we weren't thinking of. Check common areas that the camper tends to hang out. And then if you really do think the camper is missing, make sure you tell the lead counselor or director as quickly as you can. We don't want to create a big panic about the situation, and we'll get leadership staff involved in looking for the camper until we find them.
Wild animals. We do have wild animals in camp. Just don't approach them and leave them be.